Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Q Strike, as always, representing boonsandconditions.com. This is going to be episode 1 on my Thoughts of the Game series for Guild Wars 2, where I'm going to be discussing my personal thoughts on the longevity of structured PvP. I know for the very few of you guys that were watching my videos, you knew that I wanted to do more of an Assault That series where I was going to talk about tips and tricks of just really capturing different objectives in the World v World setting. But I started looking at that and I was like, this series by itself has no real longevity. So I figured, switch it to more of a thoughts on the game, where I can go over, certain comments. Definitely this one actually comes out of a comment, which I'm really happy to do. Hopefully, there's more communication involved and I'm getting different comments like, hey, it'd be cool if you could tell me what you think about this, and I can continue to do it based on comments. But of course, if I don't get a comment, I'll just make up something that I think would be interesting to talk about for about 8 to 10 minutes and throw that up there. So definitely this series by itself, Thoughts on the Game, has a higher longevity than the Assault That series. So it's what I'm going to focus on. Of course, still doing one structured PvP match per week so that I can continue up with the Monday Night Fight series that I'm also maintaining. And so this comment, the person asked, how do you think Guild Wars 2 will do if it becomes an esport? And I think that's a little too easy to answer. So what I decided to do is to more complicate the question and just, how is Guild Wars 2 PvP in terms of structured PvP stand to do right now, period, I think is the more important question, because ultimately that's going to be what determines whether or not the game is successful as an esport, is just how well the PvP stands up. And I definitely, I figure I can talk about that for a little bit. I do think it's important to say that, definitely, like, I love the game. You got to give your opinion, just straight throw it out there, just make it in the open. I mean, I work for a fan site, and you do not apply and ultimately accept, an offer at a Guild Wars 2 fan site if you're not just crazy in love with the game. That would just make no sense. However, if you were going to ask me to say one word to describe Guild Wars 2 PvP in its current state, I would have to say accessible. And I'd probably say a couple other words before I ever got down to competitive. And that's definitely not what you want to look at when you're trying to set up your PvP scene to be a competitive esport. Guild Wars 2 currently has this mantra where they're like, we want everybody to play real skill based. We want everybody to have the same stats, so that of course skill determines the outcome of every battle. And unfortunately, when they keep putting all this emphasis on skill over time spent in the game, just grinding away, as it turns out that they never put any system in place to reward that skill over time spent in the game just grinding away. Because as it stands right now, the Glory 5 vendors, which gives the best looking PvP gear, is nothing but a time sink. You spend time to earn the glory, and eventually you get the Glory 5 gear. And it doesn't matter how skilled you are at the game. I mean, yes, okay, if you're really skilled, you'll get glory benefits by getting top stats in these structured PvP matches, and ultimately will increase the rate at which you gain your glory to get the Glory 5 gear faster. But the fact is that the most skilled, PvPer and the least skilled PvPer eventually are going to end up wearing the same gear, and it could turn out that the least skilled PvPer just PvPs a lot more than the most skilled one, and he's gonna end up with all that good looking gear much faster. There definitely is one kind of award system that comes to rewarding skill over time spent in the game, and that's currently the tournament system. And I think that's where a lot of people are gonna try to go to argue the points that I'm making in this video. And the tournament system is great, but there are some adherent things they're wrong with it. And of course, first of all, 5v5. I love the fact that it's 5v5. Over the course of the beta weekend, I did randomly end up in a lot of 3v3 matches, and since my personal playstyle is so objective based, control the objectives, win the game ultimately, that I would honestly run around and sometimes not even see an enemy like the entire time. I'd just be running around trying to get all the objectives so that we could get the point lead. And then on the complete polar opposite, I ended up in a few 8v8s, and that was utter chaos. I mean, you're running around, and screw even getting to an objective. You just have like the entire teams just on top of each other. And it's just truly amazing to see how a 3v3 feels like a ghost town, and 8v8 is just such, you know, a capital city. But then 5v5, like honestly, ArenaNet these maps feel that that's how it's supposed to be played. And I don't know how you guys managed to pull that off, but it feels great. So I definitely got to say 5v5 definitely was the way to go. At the same time, 5v5 can be very exclusive. You know, looking at it in terms of World of Warcraft, which I hate to do, but I mean, it's a game that everybody played at one point in time and definitely knows how it works. But you look at it at World of Warcraft 5v5, I mean, the maps, they're completely different. You know, it's a hard comparison to make. But 5v5 is easily the least played bracket in PvP, with 2v2 being the most played bracket. Now, let's completely ignore that the maps aren't set up to support and blah. I understand all this. But what I'm trying to get at is 2v2 is just more accessible because you can hop in with your buddy. You just grab your one friend, not even your friend. You just hop in, type in trade chat, you know, hey, looking for one guy just to cap out on points. You do your 10 games and then you never see that person again. And definitely 5v5 is going to be kind of hard for people that really want to get into this, really want to see the competitive side of things, that just have their 1, 2, 3 other friends that need to rely on trying to find that one outside guy that isn't going to, you know, mesh well. Is he going to be a personality clash, anything like that? So definitely for teams that aren't already established, I see a lot of teams that could have been great that are ultimately just, we're never going to hear from them because they couldn't, you know, meet that 5v5 criteria. Again, truthfully, I still agree that for Guild Wars 2, 5v5 is the only way to make it work, just because the maps are so large that it really feels like you have to have that 5 people. So since we're going to do the 5v5, I think that they need, right now currently how it works, let me explain that first of all, is they have a point system in place. Basically you earn points by doing these, you know, ranked 5v5s, and then every month they're going to be like, okay, here's the point cap to qualify for our monthly tournament. And then, you know, it goes to a yearly tournament and that guy gets massive bragging rights. And you could look at that as, you know, hey man, it's great. Of course it's going to reward skill, and it does. But it doesn't reward skill in the way people are used to being rewarded, and that is going to drive off a large player base. Basically, we already know that there is an elo system in this game. ArenaNet's confirmed it. It's the system that they use for matchmaking in their World v Worlds. And I know that their elo system works to some extent because I was with Team Legacy and just completely destroying the World v World scene. And it wasn't until the final day that we got put against the Reddit group that was also destroying World v World. So you can tell that their elo system has to actually be catching, you know, the people that are doing well and then putting them up against each other. They need to scratch this point system, which probably is going to be working off the elo system anyway, and just give it a straight rating system. And with this rating system, they should add some tournament glory vendors. You know, put one at 1500, one at 2200, again using World of Warcraft, and say that this gear is only available to you if you spend glory, which of course I assume you'll earn in tournament matches just as you would in casual matches. And you also have to have this ranking, and that's what's going to keep a lot of people interested, a lot of people focused and really wanting to go and grab that. You know, not only will this help reward the skill that people are developing in their game, but it's also going to help people get their kind of brand recognition out there. I know a lot of people know the team Paradigm, that they've been doing a lot of videos on Reddit and stuff like that, and they could throw up their Twitch.tv stream, and a lot of people are gonna see and they're gonna know that name and want to go see them. But for a lot of people that are kind of coming up, you know, trying to prove themselves in the PvP match, I mean, let's look at it this way. Twitch.tv, you have 2 warriors streaming, and you're kind of interested in the warrior. You want to play him out. Like, who are you going to look to for tips and tricks on how to be the better warrior? The full Glory 5 warrior streaming some casual obstruction PvP, or the full, you know, tourney tier 2 2200 ranked warrior that's also streaming, you know, casual structured PvP. It's a pretty no-brainer. That kind of recognition is going to help the people that are trying to make something, you know, out of Guild Wars 2, because you see it every time a new game releases. You know, Star Wars release, and there was a bunch of new Twitch partners and a bunch of people that got partnered on YouTube making videos. The same way with you know, Mr. Pandaria, when that's coming out, Terra, you're going to start seeing a lot of that, and ultimately Guild Wars 2. And I know a lot of people could argue, oh, that's just a hardcore player base wanting to ruin our casual gameplay experience. And I hate this argument. I've heard this before. I've always hated this argument. The fact is, if you're one of those casual players that are naive enough to think that the hardcore player base isn't what is driving your favorite game's development cycle, like, you are completely wrong. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. I apologize if that hurt your feelings. But the fact is, you look to these guilds, you know, again, using World of Warcraft, oh, it's so evil, as an example. You know, the vodkas, the blood legions out there, they provide free advertising for World of Warcraft, and when they start up all their drama, oh, who's gonna race to US first, because obviously they're not getting world first. Those Europeans are a bunch of cheaters. But they start all their drama for US first. Like, people watch that stuff gets like hundreds of thousands of views, and everybody's watching World of Warcraft. And whether they know it or not, they're seeing those fights, they're learning something, and it's like, oh my god, you know, that dragon looks cool as hell, which I never say that, because personally, I'm so over that game. All those dragons look boring as crap. But a lot of people think that they do look cool as hell, and they want to go in there and they want to do that. You know, Skill Captain and Curse, they put together that Now Invitational, the arena tournament that they did, which is a little bit more what Guild Wars 2 would be about. But you're not going to get that from, you know, some super casual guild. Like, I know a lot of people know the Pals Forever guild. I think they did the Leroy Jenkins video, as well as they did this thing in Karazhan. It was like musical chairs. And a lot of people know that, and they love them, and they're super, you know, famous, and everybody, you know, loved the stuff that they did way back in the day. Pals for Life, I believe is what it's called. And, but those guys aren't going to be hosting tournaments. You know, those guys aren't going to be getting the crazy viewerships, the crazy advertising for their game. And that's who Guild Wars 2 is going to need to appeal to. And I just don't see them sticking around in a game that isn't going to reward their skill. Because why, honestly, would anybody want to continue to play a game, you know, that you go in and you go in and you go in, and at the end of the day, you're just like everybody else. There is absolutely nothing to distinguish you from the guy that's to your left that is completely horrible, that whispers you, you know, 50 million times a day, asking you what weapon set you use, because he's just not having, you know, good luck with any of that stuff. The only other way I can see ArenaNet really getting people motivated about it, if they don't want to do any kind of recognition system, would be to do like a straight Dota 2 style game releases, just crazy major prize pool tournament, and you know, a bunch of teams that were probably on the fence about it, if they know they can come in and earn just ridiculous amounts of money, like, they're gonna come in, they're gonna stay, learn, and ultimately want to be one of the best teams out there just for that prize pool potential. But definitely this video has gone on long enough, and I do apologize for that. My voice is getting all scratchy, but you know, I'm Q Strike from Boons and Conditions. That's GW2BNC.com. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe, that like button. If you want to give kind of some suggestions for future videos, leave that in the comment. I'm very analytical. I do crazy research. So if I look at your comment and it's a comment that not a lot of people have talked about in the past, like, I would love to just spend a week researching the crap out of that thing so I can post a video about it, and we can get some good, you know, communication going. But love you guys, and I appreciate you hanging out with me. Take care.